Hello, everybody. I'm Izzy, and I'll be talking to you all about transitioning from having no high school debate experience to debating in APDA. A little bit about me. I'm a graduate from Johns Hopkins. I debated for 4 years for them, and I'm still around occasionally. I judge people. I participate in some opens, and I've been speaking for a while. I coach a few teams here and there as well. So hopefully, I do have some relative experience that I can talk about that. Importantly, I also entered APDA with no high school experience. The only experience I had was doing Model UN, which is a fundamentally different format, and I wouldn't really call it debate. It did give me a little bit of public speaking exposure, but I wouldn't say it in any way, shape, or form it was at all similar to debate. So with that out of the way, I'm going to talk about what I think are useful things to help you get involved in APDA, some stuff about resources, and more about what I think you have to gain out of this. Let me first start by setting up some context. I know you all have rules lectures that Andrew's already going to give you, so I'm just going to start by setting up some context and talking a lot about APDA a bit broadly first. So I think the first thing to say is that APDA is open to lots of people who haven't debated. Many novices are people who will, like you, who will want to join APDA because they find it a cool weekend activity that they can partake in. Many people don't necessarily do debate in high school. This is especially true for international students, many of whom got in because of other reasons and want to try out debate. So you're in good company. You're always going to find a ton of people who have not done debate within high school in the first place. So you'll be able to relate to many of them, and you'll be in the same boat as many other freshmen. So don't think you're alone when you're confused about something, and don't think you're alone when thinking about asking a question, when talking about a case or anything. You're going to find other people exactly like you in the same boat. Secondly, APDA is very unique in that it is much more wacky than other debate formats. Most debate formats have preset topics, and they'll often have very specific ways of debating. Like, I know American policy and LD are very unique in the way that they set up plans, etc. APDA, in some ways, starts you on a much more even ground. So you have your own cases that you're going to write, and you're going to be given motions that are set by CAP or something, right? The point is that the wackiness of APDA makes it that there's a lot of unique quirks, which means that you're still starting on a relatively even playing ground, even against those who have some amount of experience. I think just delving into it and making sure that you enjoy the format will help you just get up to speed. I don't think you need to be scared of people who necessarily have more experience. Finally, and this is really important, I think APDA is a unique place for you to be able to discuss things that you're specifically passionate about. So cases are specifically things that you write about, that you are interested in. I don't think any other debate format offers this, and this uniqueness is one of the reasons why I think it's easy to transition into APDA. Importantly, because you're able to write about things that you know about. This helps in many cases in generating arguments, in coming up with things that you necessarily want to talk about, and it often makes debate rounds fun for individual people. Okay, so that's some background and context setting, and I want to talk a little bit about how to familiarize yourself with APDA in the first place. The first thing I want to note is I think it's important that most people don't focus on doing well, or at least not arbitrarily on a competitive landscape. Yes, competition is important, and I know many of you want to do well, but I would say I think debating is a bit of a mindset thing to some extent as well. I debate because I find it an incredibly cool activity, and it's an opportunity to discuss things that you're passionate about. This is an important reframe because I think, yes, competition is important, and I was someone who liked being competitive as well, but I think at the same time, recognizing that there are other reasons you do debate, that there are reasons that you want to do it outside of the competitive element is particularly important to enjoying the transition because it allows you to focus on the uniqueness of the topics, the uniqueness of the format, etc. Secondly, I think it's important to take the transition into APDA slowly. There's a lot of jargon around it, like what is an MG, what is a PMR, what is a POO. Take it slow and process these things over time. Be okay with asking questions and don't try everything at once. Take small steps. It's very important to say, I think this week I'm going to learn what a warrant is. Next week I'm going to try to figure out how I would give this speech. And most importantly, it's okay to try different things and maybe like some of them and maybe not like some of them. This is important because it allows you to experience the full breadth of APDA And even if you're taking it slightly slow, it takes time to familiarize yourself. It's okay if it takes a little longer. Secondly, don't be afraid to ask questions, no matter how dumb it sounds. If you don't understand what the PO is the first time, ask your judge. If you can't understand it, ask someone else. Ask literally anyone and everyone all the questions you can. Think of this as a public service that you are doing. Because I'm not gonna lie, I was confused many times when I was a novice, and other people asking questions made it easier for me to understand. Sometimes they would ask questions that I didn't even know I had, right? And what this helps with is effectively clarifying things for both teams, making it so that it doesn't sound like you're afraid of being viewed badly, etc. No one's going to be judging you for this. I think there are set of APDA rules can get quite complicated, etc. So it's perfectly fine to ask questions and perfectly fine to continue asking questions. There is no such thing as a stupid question. Thirdly, I think it's really important to familiarize yourself with the people in APDA and start talking to people and maybe build up a bit of a social network. Note, debate isn't just about going in a room and arguing. A lot of the reason why people are involved with debate, I think it's really cool to just go up and chat with random people in GA, discuss topics with them, make friends. And it doesn't have to mean that you have to know every single person around you, but reaching out to a small select group of people is often a really good idea to involve yourself with the circuit significantly more. I think especially start with your team, start with people close to you, but it's also really important and really cool to reach out to people across schools. I personally am perfectly fine with being reached out with, and I think a lot of people on the org-com of this committee will be totally fine with being reached out to, etc. So I think it's important that you reach out to these types of people. Most importantly, and this covers the majority of things that I think are important to say about APDA, is just that I think it's important to take your time with the format. It is a format that takes a little bit to understand, and it is okay if you ask multiple questions. It's okay if you take some time before you necessarily feel particularly good about each individual speech. I think the mindset of spending some time on each individual thing is totally fine and something that I think people should do more of rather than, try to absorb everything all at once. I think it's great and equally relevant socially. With this, I just want to jump into a couple of resources that I think can be particularly helpful for people who are just transitioning. So I think for all of you, definitely ask your seniors about the APDA forum. This place is the primary way that people communicate in APDA officially. So it's really important to have an account here because there are a few subsections of resources that I think are really, really important, right? One, there are a lot of videos online of debate rounds that you can watch. I highly, highly recommend if you have an extra hour a day just to watch one if you want to. Good high-level debate rounds are some of my most fun things to watch, and they help you learn about what APDA is going to be like. Secondly, the rules of the entire format are here. Speaker scales are here. Time for speeches is here. A lot of the basic questions that you want to ask yourself can directly be answered via this website, and so it's a very useful resource to have on hand. So that is the first resource that I think is incredibly important, the APDA forum. Secondly, I think there are certain committees that we have on APDA. So if you go to the committees page in the APDA forum, there is an entire set of committees that are there to help you out. These are equity, other types of committees that matter. But I want to specifically talk about one committee that I think is relevant within this. It's the Novice Mentor Committee. So this committee is particularly made to cater to novices and new people who have entered APDA right now. They're important because what that means is that you have specific people that you can reach out to if you don't have someone from your school, if you aren't having as much success in reaching out to people close to you. There are always people who you can reach out to and are people who will be willing to help you. That is literally their job. That is why this committee exists. Finally, there are certain tournaments that happen across the year called Pro-Ams. This is when someone who's debated over a year takes a novice, a freshman debater, or someone, their first year of debate basically, to a tournament. That is an opportunity for you to learn a lot from someone who's been debating for a while. And it is also a great resource in terms of getting to know your team slightly better, in terms of the social environment that the team puts out. So that's an important element, I think, in terms of building up the social culture. That's basically the main elements, I think, of what makes APDA. I think the most important part that I've talked about so far is definitely the ability to write your own cases, the ability to debate about things that you are passionate about, and the ability to ask questions. Oh, there's one more thing I did want to touch on that I think is important in terms of the mindset in APDA. Definitely be happy to ask the opposing team questions in terms of prepping your arguments. So I know one of the biggest things that people are terrified of is opping, right? Which is coming up with your own case, after hearing a background case, taking you 15 minutes to prep your own case. I think it's totally fine to ask 10,000 questions during this period. be happy to. Take your time and ask them as many questions as you want to construct your arguments. Okay, that's the last set of advice that I want to give. Anyway, I just want to end now by saying two last things. One, I think there's a lot to gain out of APDA, and as you participate, you're going to learn a lot and are going to have a lot of fun. There's social events and friends that you will find forever, right? Like, I enjoyed going to a lot of socials, and a lot of my friends are still from debate, so like, a lot of my friends in DC, right, where I live, are from my years of debating, and we're extremely close even afterwards, and we've had a great time and still know each other really, really well, and are even good friends outside debate now. I also think it gives you invaluable skills in being able to talk to people and being able to convince and argue with people. So it's really important to like take this as something that, like, even if you're losing right now, there are things that you're going to be gaining. To conclude with, don't hesitate to dive in. Like, go all in. Definitely ask questions, have fun, enjoy the debate rounds you're doing, don't just think about winning, and you will be a part of the league before you know it. Like, I think it doesn't take that much, and the people are welcoming. Be happy to ask questions, be happy to be a part of things, and people are going to want you there too.